Hello, welcome to JURIST. This video is produced by JURIST's India staff. On August 15, Afghanistan came under Taliban's control when the group seized the capital of Kabul, and the erstwhile president, President Ashraf Ghani, fled the country. Today, my guest is a law student from Kabul, and her camera has been switched off, and her name is also protected for security reasons. Welcome. I hope you and your family are safe, and we are very sorry to hear about the hardships that you're going through.
Hello, thank you for the interview. We are currently safe. Thank you for asking.
So, could you please explain how the whole situation panned out?
Actually, the situation for now, especially in capital Kabul and other provinces, is in pause. Nothing much is actually happening except in some provinces that the violence against people, against the public people has increased. In Kabul, everyone is trying to get out of the Kabul, especially those who are educated, who have work. Most of them are holding master degrees, PhDs. They have been in a very good positions, whether with the private sectors or with the government. Everyone is in fear that Taliban has started searching home by home searches, that they are looking for the journalists, they are looking for the government employees, especially those who had high positions, who have worked with foreigners, with private sectors, and with the NGOs. So for the time being, everyone is scared, and no one really knows what will happen.
So, before 15th August, did you have any inclination or did you have any idea that this might happen? Like, what was the situation before the Taliban seized the country?
Well, before 15, no one ever expected, not anyone, not people who were even who are in the who are running the government, that Kabul, the capital of the country, would fall this soon, overnight. The everyone, international community and national people and public, thought that at least Kabul would resist minimum at least for 3 weeks, after 3 months. And for this period, there would be a negotiation going on, and hopefully they will come up with an idea or a solution to what will happen. Everyone in Kabul was getting ready actually to flee out of Kabul and to go out of Kabul, and even the foreigners, the diplomats or the foreign citizens who were working inside of Afghanistan, to get out safely during this time that Kabul would resist. Well, no one ever expected that Afghanistan, the big cities like Herat, like Kandahar, no one would ever expected Kabul, but these big cities would fall this soon. As there were people, the public resilience that they were fighting, and they took Herat back. But they once had control all over Herat, and then in the next day, we heard that through the news that Kabul has fallen under the Taliban control. So no one ever expected that Afghanistan, and especially capital of Afghanistan, Kabul, would fall this soon.
All right. So, what is the situation with the people right now? What is the internal situation? Are people trying to resist the rule? Are people forming groups of resistance? How are things panning out?
As I mentioned, for the time being, everything is in pause, but people are getting ready for another um, war. I can say another battle, because there is one province still that public resilience um, are coming together, and they want to start. They have already started, but they will come to our Kabul, and they will fight back. There are people who are going outside of Afghanistan. They are scared. They are not safe inside of Afghanistan. They're, they're actually looking and searching. As you might have heard through news, is that people are inside the airport trying to get outside of Afghanistan, and people are in the borders, waiting the borders to be open to go to the neighborhood countries. But people who are still inside of Afghanistan, and they think that they cannot have any place outside of Afghanistan, and they cannot go outside of Afghanistan. They are actually preparing themselves for a fight. Actually, maybe not themselves participating in the battle, but to actually mentally be prepared that something like that will happen.
Yes, definitely. So when Kabul was being taken over, what was the sentiment? Did the public? Was there a sense of public resilience? Was there a sense of wanting to fight against it? Because clearly they have a lot of muscle power. Clearly they have a lot of arms. So is there a prevalence of this feeling of helplessness that we can't even fight the Taliban?
If the people had a chance, like any other provinces, they would have definitely fought against Taliban, because there are people who inside Kabul that they are armed. There are so many people that they were in army, they are retired, or they're already in the army. They were the officers. They are living inside Kabul. But Kabul, unfortunately, was given to them. It was just something overnight. Uh, it was Saturday that we heard that some provinces around Kabul were under control of Taliban. But the next day, no one ever expected that Taliban would be on doors of Kabul by morning. That morning, I got ready on Sunday. I got ready to go to my university. I got dressed, and that my brother called me that do not go out today. It might be dangerous. So I was bound to go to my university, and I came back to home, just waiting what will happen. And by 11 a.m., we heard that Kabul is given. They're all around the doors of Kabul. So that's something that happened. The people of Kabul didn't have a chance to fight against it. It's more than 5 million people living inside Kabul, the most populated province of Afghanistan and city of Afghanistan. They never had a chance to fight.
That's really heartbreaking. And as you say this, as you say that you were preparing to go to your university, what do you think is going to be your status as a woman, especially as an educated woman in this new regime?
There is actually the education depends on the gender. The future of the education depends on the gender upon students. Men has Men have a chance to study, maybe in a different way, different circumstances, but they might have a chance to study, but not women. I was actually going to write about this, that there was a meeting between the Taliban representative and the higher education, the private and public higher education representative, regarding the situation of the reopening of universities. Um, the news I got is that they are not going to ban the women and girls to go to university. However, they will put every single barrier that might be possible for them to block the future of girls' education in Afghanistan. Let me put it in an example. They say that the girls the girls and boys, women and male, female and male universities should be separated. Girls should be taught by women professors, and boys should be taught by male professors. That is something impossible because Afghanistan, the universities overall, do not have that many professors, especially women. In my faculty, we had only, in Kabul University, we had only um, in the like around from 30 professors, we only had five of them female. So that means that if it's going to be separated, there will not be enough professors for female, and they have to sit home. And it's not the situation just for the students; it will be the same for the professors too. If there is no student, female student, there will not be any professors, obviously, in the universities. Or especially, one other thing is that there are a lot of private universities right now functioning inside Kabul and other provinces, and that they have a lot of students. Now, for them, something like that is impossible because they are paying expenses. In a class that they had previously, um, around 30 students, in five of them female, they cannot offer a separate class just for that five people. They either have to increase the cost, the fee that students will not be able to pay, and or they have to just stop offering classes for females. That's what will happen. They are putting every single barrier that is possible to limit or to ban female students from studying. And actually, this was brought up by one of the higher education representative, that, okay, this is not something that is possible. We will not have enough professors for both female and male students. The answer they got was very, very out of logic, and it was say that you should have prepared yourself for such a thing. We fought for 20 years, and the representatives say that it took us 20 years to educate those professors, to send them abroad, to um, to make to make them or provide the opportunity for them to get a master's degree or a PhD. Now, something like that is not possible even for a year or two. That we separate male and female professors and offer two different classes. And they say, that's not our problem. That's what will happen. That means that finally, like years back, 20 years ago, females will not have a chance to study and to be educated.
Yes, that's That's actually, that's very unfortunate. And do you think this will, what alternative do you think women will be left with if this actually pans out? If they're not allowed to study, if they're not allowed to be educated, what do you think Afghani women will do?
This is something that there will be no answer for them. They have to stay at home. Those who are educated, most of them are trying to get a way out of Afghanistan. They are trying their best to just go out of Afghanistan. And those the family that are educated, they're trying a way to get their family members out of Afghanistan so that they can have a chance or a future in some other countries. But inside Afghanistan, the experiences that I've shown, well, my some years ago, my mother and my elder sisters were telling, and they were telling the story that during Taliban, everyone had to stay. No one was allowed to go out. No female is allowed to even walk on the street or to go out of home without a male. So that means that they have to be present inside um, inside your home. That's something that I could have never imagined something that bad story and the saddest story would happen. And I, as a person who spent years on education and also through my initiative, educate those who couldn't study in other provinces due to insecurity. Uh, would I myself should have stayed home and I'm not allowed to go out. It has been a week that I haven't been even out of my door. That is the future of females. That means that they have no future, no alternative other than being present inside your homes.
That's very unfortunate. And there were a lot of reports about, women being trafficked, women being publicly sold to Taliban soldiers. Do you think now that women now, of course, women will be more vulnerable to such things? What do you think is the future of minority women? Because women from well-educated families and women from families that have a lot of resources, they might still have protection. But what do you think is going to happen to women from minority classes?
I'm glad that you brought up this topic, and I was going to talk about. Um, it's not something in the future. It's already happening. The provinces that are under control of Taliban, they instructed the people and the religious person in charge that prepare a list of women between girls between 12 to 50 to 45 and hand over that list to Taliban. That means they have already taken so many girls by force. They have this excuse that they will marry them, that no one knows, and even their families, what happened to them. This is something that is already happening in the provinces. And I've heard so many instances of them that, especially the minorities, like Hazara people, um, their girls and their daughters have been taken by Taliban. One of the Taliban that was arrested by, it was a Pakistani Taliban, Talib that was taken hostage by army back then, uh, like 2 weeks ago. They were asked why you're here, why you're fighting, and they said we are promised that we will receive Afghan girls. So that's something that is already happening, and they will be sexual slaves of Taliban. In experiences have shown that those who have been taken by Taliban, no one knows up to this day that what happened to them. That's what will happen, and it's something that already happened.
So it's actually because the world has already seen this 20 years before, and that's how it's been. Like sexual slavery is very prevalent amongst Taliban. And that just makes women more vulnerable. It just makes women more scared.
It really is the situation. Among I'm from an educated family. My sisters and my brothers have PhD and master degrees, and I myself is everyone before me had said at record that a person, we are 9 brothers and sisters, and among these, uh, we are the youngest, me and my younger sister. So among us, before my elder sister and brothers, they have set a record for us, the younger ones. That's why I'm studying 2 bachelor degrees at the same time and simultaneously. They had 2 masters and they had 2 masters. You're holding PhD degrees. They could they could go outside of Afghanistan, and the only two that we two are remained. They're very concerned about us, and we are searching for opportunity day and night to find a way out. So for families that are educated, and for educated family, it's very hard. It's not just, I'm not emphasizing just for educated families, it's for every Afghan family right now. The situation and story of every girl right now. People people are in the airport for a reason. People who are endangering their lives, they that's for a reason. They don't want the people who are taking their young children to the airport to hope that there is a way out and someone will take them outside of Afghanistan is a reason. They don't want their daughter to be Taliban slaves. No father, no mother will have such a passion. They are not that passionate. They don't have that patience to see their daughters to be sexual slave of Taliban. The girls that they spend years, they have taken years. They love them so much. They have taken care of them for years, and they love them for years. Now they're giving them to someone they don't know, and they don't know that what will happen to them. That's the current situation.
And besides sexual minorities, besides women, especially from minority groups, what do you think is going to happen to religious minorities now that Taliban has taken over?
Experience with Taliban has shown that they don't have a chance of living in Afghanistan at all. The minority, like Sikh people inside of Afghanistan, the Hindus here in Afghanistan, they have been already the target of attacks. Hazaris or Shia people have been the target of a Taliban already, even back time that didn't have the control. The big attack that happened, explosion that happened in the can say it was a religious celebration day for Sikh people. That they had a lot of them have been killed and injured, and the one in the mosques that killed a lot of Shia people and Mazar people. Even their schools, their educational centers have been the target of explosions and attacks of Taliban. So now that they have taken the control, I can say there is no chance that they will have a chance of even living inside of Afghanistan and being alive. They have been tortured. They have been killed. They have been taken away by Taliban in the past, but no one knows up to this day what happened. So likewise, well, right now Afghanistan is no place for living for any Afghan, but especially for minorities.
That's, yes, that's very understandable. So, what do you think is the role of the international and foreign powers that has led to such a situation? What do you think that foreign occupation, erstwhile foreign occupation, what do you think how do you think that is related to how the Taliban has taken over the country presently? Do you think there's a role that the international community has played to enable Taliban to take over the country?
The West community should accept that they have failed in Afghanistan. It's very obvious that they have failed. Their policy and their strategy for Afghanistan for helping it, it's now being discussed between everyone inside and outside of Afghanistan that it. I'm sorry for saying this, that there is a meme between people and saying that if you think you're useless, imagine that it took US for president to take Afghanistan from 20 years ago in to start from 20 years ago and just taking back them to that 20 years ago. If it makes sense, it makes I'm doing it a direct translation. So that's why it doesn't make that quite sense. For president for the US, millions of dollars, thousands of people and soldiers were killed and injured. Now for nothing. They started 20 years ago and they're back to that situation that they started with. So there is no reason for their strategy. Afghanistan is back to that 20 years ago. They should accept that they have failed in the people who believed them and the people who had hope, they have been a failure and they have failed those who believed on them.
So recently, President Biden, he was defending the American action of pulling back troops from Afghanistan, and he said that that's justified because the goal of the United States presence in Afghanistan wasn't to build the nation. It wasn't nation building. That wasn't their goal. So, what do you think about this? What do you think about the presence of Western powers in the country of Afghanistan, and just was it just for nothing? Like they were here for 20 years, almost 20 years, and now the way things have panned out, it's just back to normal.
Well, if
Not
Taliban think,
back to
if US, sorry,
yes,
continue. If US thinks that um, they have defended, they have removed the threat that was for them 20 years ago, and now there is no more threat, you're wrong. Back then, 20 years ago, the terroristic groups that were functioning in Afghanistan, they got even more powerful. And now they're functioning inside Afghanistan. They are more educated now. They have more equipments. The equipments that they themselves supported. Well, you might have through news channels, through different interviews, have heard that Taliban was supported and was created by US, so they could take control of the the Middle East, the policy that was going on. This has been told by Clinton and the previous. I'm quoting this from Clinton and previous president. So if they think that they created this and they can control this, no, they're wrong. If they could control them, they should have had their negotiation in Qatar with these Taliban should have had a result by now, not this failure. That their own people who were working inside Afghanistan are not, they don't have any guarantee that they can evacuate those people from inside Afghanistan. If they cannot, well, this Taliban and terrorism inside Afghanistan will not be stopped here, and it will not be the end here. And then they should be sure that there is a threat for them. Maybe now, maybe not now, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, 5 years ago, for the next 2 years, maybe after 3 years, or maybe 5 years. They will, I think that the process of 20 years ago will repeat itself. They will start coming back to Afghanistan, bombarding these people that they have taken, and there will be a threat for them. And they will come that, okay, they will realize back then that they have failed and they have to spend millions, and they have to give, they have to send soldiers, thousands of them, so that they can remove that threat from their own country.
So, what do you think is the role of internal politics in Afghanistan that has led to this? Do you think it was partly because of weak leadership that, this takeover of Kabul, the way you've said it, that it just happened overnight, that nobody was expecting Kabul to fall this early and to fall this easily? Do you think the role of weak leadership can be traced out over here? We see that erstwhile President Ashraf Ghani, he just fled the country. What do you think is the role of Afghani leaders and Afghani politicians, and how, what accountability and what responsibility they have had then and they have now?
It definitely was a failure of and the weakness of the previous government and the internal politics. Well, personally, I think that Ashraf Ghani could not have the people, the leaders around himself, so that they could beat and they could defend the country as a whole, as one and united. That was weakness of the government, so that resulted in failure in invasion of Kabul and all over Afghanistan. Other thing is that President Ashraf Ghani Afghanistan has a true history of being a country with different groups and different ethnicities and different people. Over 30 languages are spoken inside Afghanistan, and many other, more than that, ethnicity groups are here living inside of Afghanistan. A good politician keeps all together and united and satisfied. That's what Ashraf Ghani failed to do. And that resulted in people joining Taliban group and weakening the government that it has finally fallen. Or other people think that the government has already negotiated to give the control of the cities in the country to the Taliban. No one really knows what was happening, and it was all behind the closed doors. That was the main problem, and now people are in shock. What happened? We had an army, a very equipped one. We had thousands of soldiers, way more than Taliban. What happened to them? We are seeing there are videos in social media that we are seeing that um, there are soldiers that they were forced to give up. So what happened? Where was the problem? Whether it was a weakness or not, whether it was a negotiated thing already, something that was already negotiated between them. It was a decision that has been already taken. No one knows what happened. And as a public, I don't know what happened. And no one else knows.
And while we see that Ashraf Ghani has fled the country, we also see that a new alliance, not a new alliance, but this the Northern Alliance, it's strengthening, and it's very openly defying the Taliban rule, and we see that Amrullah Saleh, he's presenting himself as the caretaker president. So, what do you think? Do you think that is there a ray of hope over there? Do we see the Afghani people themselves fighting against Taliban?
That's something I cannot comment at all because um, everything, the situation right now inside Afghanistan is that everything is on pause.
Yes.
Taliban, and especially inside Kabul, they're trying to be nice, though there are news and violence uh, evidences out in social media, and the medias are banned, but in social media that people are posting and saying that Taliban hasn't changed. I hope. Um, well, there is only one province that hasn't been taken control, and it's not controlled by Kabul, and is the other 33 provinces under Taliban control. There are a lot of controversies that what will happen, and in the current situation that right now I'm living in the current situation that Afghanistan is, no one knows what will happen. They haven't created their government organization yet. They don't have, well, if they had fought this long, they should have had an idea what will happen. Their leader is holding a Pakistani passport. So how that affect on the decision? There are Afghan leaders that they are negotiating with Taliban, but more in Pakistan. There are people in Qatar together with the US. They are in negotiation with different parties. Is there any hope? Maybe for some people, but do people want to fight? They want to lose everything like 20 years ago, or they will accept the Taliban regime and living under their control and under their violence. No one knows. Nothing is certain right now.
So recently, even international aid has been refused to Afghanistan. Do you think that because of international politics, the common man is suffering? What role do you think uh, is supposed to be played by international amnesty, and how much help the international community should give in the name of humanity to Afghanistan?
Inside Afghanistan, there are two group of people that I can say none of them are wrong. There is no right. There is no black and white here. All the banks are frozen. No money is coming inside of Afghanistan. There is no transaction. Some people believe that the international community should not accept the Taliban regime because it's a regime taken by force, and force is not allowed under international law. So, in that reason, they should not accept Taliban regime as a valid regime controlling Afghanistan. While some other people thinking about people and situation of these people, the previous group, they are thinking about the government and the regime that has taken the power. They should not be accepted by they should not be, they should not have a valid identity for the international community. Well, there are other people that they're thinking about the public. Right now, people, the price of everything, food, and the clothes shops are closed, food are very high, and the prices are increasing day by day. People cannot find um, mobile credit card, so they are not actually able to call each other even. Um, so they're saying that the poverty that is already inside Afghanistan, they already were inside Afghanistan, and 75% of people were living under poverty poverty line. It will go to 100. All the people of Afghanistan will live under the line of poverty. So that means that people will not die from insecurity like the Taliban regime back then, 20 years ago. They will die from hunger. There are people, well, during COVID, since the people were not able to work, there were people that, there are a lot of people, and a very significant percentage of people that their food, their night food, and their meal is dependent on how much they work during the day. They are daily workers. So that means if they don't work one day, they will not have anything to eat for the night, for the next day. These people and the people who are thinking about the public say that international community should find somehow a way to help the public and the people to not die from hunger and poverty. These are the two distinct groups and the two ideas now inside of Afghanistan.
That's true. So, for the past 20 years, we can see Taliban being a prevalent force, especially in positions of power, in positions of governmental control. So, you have probably grown up in an era without Taliban and presently being just shoved into this new regime. I can only imagine how difficult that might be. But as a student of law, where do you think your country's constitution stands? What do you think is going to happen to your country's legal system now that the whole regime has been toppled?
I'm going to answer your question in two parts. Back then, in 20 years ago, firstly, back in 20 years ago, Taliban didn't have any law, neither any constitution. So, studying the history of constitution inside of Afghanistan, there were so many laws that just to bring organization inside country, they just copied the previous law, and then it just changed the name of the the Republic of Afghanistan to their own Afghanistan Emirates, Islamic Emirates. So that's the changes that they brought. They didn't have any constitution, and they weren't really successful. Everything that was controlled. It was not by law. It was by force. They are controlling everything by army right now. That is something that uh, people are expecting to happen the same thing. As a law student that I've studied, I'm 21 years ago. I'm 21 years old, and I've lived in this 20 years, seeing that how my country changed how much developed over this 20 years after Taliban regime. Now, as a law student, I've studied Constitution of Afghanistan. I have studied laws of Afghanistan. Um, I've been working with one of the law firms. We have worked on drafting so many laws. So just to advise the legal as a private sector to the public sector, legal public sector. So now, as a law student, I'll see Afghanistan with no legal organization and legal system at all. Afghanistan is and was an Islamic country. Every law of Afghanistan, it is mentioned in the Constitution of Afghanistan that no law shall be against Islamic values and Islamic rules. And Islamic rules are very broad. They are taken from Holy Quran and they are taken from a Prophet Sunnah. So they are not something solid to be applicable. That's what Taliban are claiming to be applied. So what they say that it should be something, everything should be according to Holy Quran and everything should be according to Sunnah, while Afghanistan laws are all in accordance with the Islamic values. What they are trying to say and justify is that the practice has been different. They can never justify that laws of Afghanistan are against Islamic values. That's why they want to force people to accept their regime. They don't have any logic for what they are doing. They have saying that Afghanistan people, the Afghanistan regime have been something un-Islamic. Well, every law of Afghanistan, every Afghanistan laws are based on Islamic values and Islamic rules. Constitution of Afghanistan will be changed. One of the first articles in the Constitution of Afghanistan is regarding the name of Afghanistan and the flag color of Afghanistan. You have been reading through the news is that there are a lot of people killed by Taliban, and there were a lot of fights just on the flag, on the matter of flag. They have changed the flag of Afghanistan overnight. Flag of Afghanistan is not something that belongs to a government or a regime. It's something that people accepted, and it's not something against their values, the values that Taliban are claiming. In other rules that are mentioned inside Constitution of Afghanistan, all will be nullified. There will be, I cannot say that they are able to approve other rules and laws, since they first need a structure of government. They will, obviously, Afghanistan will not have a parliament like previously to pass a law, so-called Islamic rules by them, by Taliban. So there will be no parliament. There will be a huge change in the structure of government, and there will be almost everything changed. And that's one of the main reasons there is no future for the law students, prosecutors, and judges inside Afghanistan under Taliban regime.
Yes, that's very unfortunate, and we can only hope that this situation of uncertainty, this whole as you're saying that the whole country is on pause. Let's just hope that things do pan out for the better in the future. I am really thankful that you agreed to do this interview. I know how difficult it was to come here and talk about it, especially knowing the risk there is to talk about this, especially knowing that talking about it as a woman in itself is a great risk. But from Jurist's side, we are very thankful that you agreed to do this with us, and we wish you all the best and the best of health. And if there is one comment that you would like to put for the international community, one anything that you'd like to say to the international community, we please go ahead because we really want your voice to reach a lot of people.
First of all, thank you so much for the interview. Due to the risk, I haven't been able to post on social media as I haven't been able to talk to anyone regard. And it's for someone who have been talking for so many years, being silent is the most difficult thing, even more difficult than this current situation. And one comment and one message that I will like you to to be my voice and carry to the international community is that please make sure that your borders are open and people at least have a choice to whether live under this regime or leave Afghanistan. They shouldn't be forced. At least their human rights should not be violated, and they should have a choice to whether leave or stay. There are a lot of people that they would like to stay and fight against the situation and the regime for 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 their country, but there are a lot of people that they cannot. They have to think about the family first, and they should have at least a way out of Afghanistan. The people who are in the airport, they should have they have a hope to be outside of Afghanistan. It's for a reason. Please don't take that hope from them and make sure that they at least who are willing to go outside of Afghanistan, they are carried outside of Afghanistan. And that's my comment.
That, that's really wonderful, and I hope the international community is open to more refugees and to more because above all it's humanity and above all it's human rights, it's basic human rights. We cannot force a particular group of people to live in a regime where they face so much persecution. Thank you so much once again. Thank you so much for sitting for this interview and sharing your thoughts and giving us an insight into what is going on in this new regime of Taliban in Kabul. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you for the time.